There we go. We are now live. Marta, please feel free to take it away. We're so excited to be here with you.
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with all of you. I expect lots of mums, maybe other non-mums or mums to be, or those who see themselves as mum to interspecies animals, also valid. I'm also one of those. I just want to welcome everyone who's here with us today. The title of today's talk is Ship It Like a Mum, for all of those building either motherhood trenches or those caring for others or whatever that you have going on in your life that maybe makes it harder for you to have prolonged amounts of time where you can focus, or you need to be able to multitask a lot, or you're actually just trying to do something amazing, but you struggle with so much going on in your life right now that it's really hard to focus and get clarity. And the idea of this talk today is just to have a brief discussion around some of these things and help you get started. And for all of those in the audience that are joining now the second season of She Builds, massive congratulations to all of you. And I'm sure it's going to be amazing. I was part of season one, and I can tell you how powerful, impactful, and yeah, so many adjectives I have. I'll just keep going. But yeah, congratulations and welcome. So I built today's presentation in Lovable just to show you some of the features you can also use. It's very simple one, but I thought I have to do it. I know other people who presented before also did it on Lovable, so we have to make sure that we use this space to really speak out for the potential of the platform. And today, where we're going to start is how we should all start as moms, but not only. When we're starting to ship and create our products, the most important thing we really need to do is to, even before we write a single line of prompt or we start writing into ChatGPT or whatever other tool you're using, is to actually think about what is my North Star? What am I trying to get across to people here? I've built something for you that you can do as homework. And this platform is now public, so you can go in your own time, shiplikeamom.lovable.app. And if you click here on what are you shipping, I've built a small kind of 90s quiz type thing that will help you by asking some questions, help you crystallize what idea you're really working for. This is the foundation. I call it the North Star. There's lots of different ways to talk about it, but this is kind of the foundation that is important for you to start. So here I put some North Star examples, and they're very simple. Some of these examples are related to parenthood, but it's just for you to understand how important it is to have 1, 2 sentences that really point where you're going with your idea before you even start. So let's say I'm working on a nursery finder to help parents find and compare local childcare options without going into Google rabbit hole. Or I want to help couples, families support people through their fertility journey with an infertility companion, for example, to track and to give them a community. Or I'm working on something for families related to art. So it's very important that you can summarize, even if you have no idea what features your product will be, how you're going to build, what it's going to look like. Just try to think, what is the North Star that you're going for? Second, you've heard by now about vibe coding. And I know when I joined, even when I joined Lovable and having used Lovable for over 6 months when I joined She Builds, I still didn't fully understand what this vibe is all about. And finding your vibe is quite important. And I think that's one of the things that you should also think about while you're starting is to find your vibe. So when you are working or starting to prepare what your prompt will be like, think about what you want to convey. So this is because without those vibe checks that we'll go into a little bit more, you'll most likely get generic results that probably don't really respond to the design or to the content or to the style that you're looking for in your mind. So think about vivid descriptions that work like magic for Lovable and vibe coding tools. I guess you can understand this when you read something like, I'm building an 80s arcade dating platform. Think about neon, pixel fonts, playful. Think Ready Player One meets Bumble. I think everyone can really understand what the vibe we're going for Or I'm actually going for a calm crystal astrological side. Think about soft ingredients, celestial, soothing. Think calm meets co-star. So when you're thinking about your vibe, try to find a description as generic as it is, and then go into the details as if you wanted the software to smell what your product looks like. And because this is not as easy as it sounds, maybe on a first approach, I've prepared a small vibe checklist to help you get into this if it's the first time. So, who is it this for? The North Star that you've discovered. An example, be specific. It's for exhausted first time moms in their 30s. That is so much more specific than just saying this is for parents. How should it feel? Pick 2 or 3 words: calming, energizing, playful, luxurious. Think about visual references. Think about other websites, other platforms that inspire you, that have the some sort of vibe. And color mood. There's a whole thing about the psychology of colors. I'm sure you've heard it before. If not, there's so much content out there. So try to think about how color, how symbols can also inspire and help software smell what you're trying to convey to build. And then it's time to craft your prompt. I remember when I joined She Builds on my first few days, I was so overwhelmed because there's so many different people that are joining from so many backgrounds. And it's obvious that you will find some women who are designers, who are software developers, who might have much more solid technical background than you do. And in the beginning, I remember some people, because you'll see the community shares what they're working on. It's so inspiring and it's so powerful. But as a mom, as an overwhelmed mom, seeing how some people, and we shouldn't compare each other, but we always do a little bit. Some people had this 20-page UI plan and prompt ready. It was actually quite scary at times. So I wanted to inspire you that you really don't need this 20-page plan to prepare for your She Builds or to start working on your prototype as a general builder. All you need is a killer prompt and a phased build plan. I recommend investing time in your prompt and your planning. That will save you hours of iteration. So I've put here 7-element template of what you can start thinking about to build your prompt. And what I recommend is also that you use either the chat function with Lovable, or even use Claude, for example. Now Claude is within Lovable, but you can also just talk to Claude and work through the prompt, work through these 7 elements, work through another template that works for you, but to make sure that the prompt is as solid and as reflective of what you want to build as a starting point as possible. So that will be a project overview, the North Star, what you're building, why, target users, your problem, the vibe we discussed, some MVP features. Here we have an overview of what the 3-phase plan would be. When we're talking about the MVP, we're talking about the core features that users need to do, how they navigate, if it's mobile responsive or not. Usually it should be. Kind of some working backends that you need, just the basic functions, some design principles, and some tech requirements that you have. This is what you need for the MVP, and this is what you should focus for the prompt. After your validation and working on your MVP, then you can do some validation, you can start polishing, you can do some edge cases, you can look at performance, and then you can go into the universe with adding multi-language integrations, other premium features. I say within the She Builds, you most likely shouldn't be going into future dreams, even though sometimes it's very tempting, but you should really focus on your MVP for the 48 hours. So 48 hours, be very clear with your goals, with your vibe, with what you want the platform to do. And for now, make sure that you don't focus on trying to be super perfect, avoiding any bugs or all bugs, or trying to include features that just come up to mind super cool, but no one asked for. So this is to start. And then I'm going to talk about working in fragments, because this is part of the reality of a parent founder life. Your time will come in fragments. You sometimes have unpredictable windows like a nap time, or someone went to bed, you don't know when they wake up again. You might have an hour, you might have three, you might have 10 minutes. So your second brain that you really need as a parent is to have your status document. And this is so important. It doesn't really matter if you're using Notion or Google Doc or a notepad, whatever works for you. The tool matters way less than the habit itself. What I recommend here that really worked for me, especially during she builds, this document was my Bible during those 48 hours. And it was basically one page where I had what I needed to do, what I was working on, kind of the active things. And then you can rearrange these. Some ideas that would pop into my mind but weren't really urgent separately. Urgent bugs that were related to my MVP that I really needed to fix before the 48 hours. Things that were bugs that didn't look great, that were kind of known issues, but weren't really blocking the main functions. But I wanted to make sure I captured them. And brain dumps for the future, random thoughts, screenshots from what other people sent, links to other people. And I've added here my platform some examples of my own Notion that I used during the she builds that was very chaotic, but it was structured more or less on this exact same structure. And it was so important for me. Then I recommend having a kind of 13-minute slot strategy, not going through all this because you can really come back to this page, but think about what types of tasks you can do depending on the amount of time that you might have. If you know you're only having 15 minutes because your kid is having a snack and maybe you can run into your laptop, try to fix a typo, small bug, something you already have in your notes as an urgent fix. Write something for social media or do a small design tweak. If you have half an hour, maybe you have time for real work, but it's very important you're very clear about what you're doing. So building one small key feature, talking to a user that you're getting feedback from, or do some prompt engineering, something that would be real work in this 30 minutes. And then over 60 minutes, we know how rare and precious those are, but that can go into strategic planning. And these 30-minute slot, 60-minute slot strategy applies to obviously beyond she builds, but I think it's even more critical during the session. Every time you close your laptop or you're about to, always write in your notepad, next time I open this, I need to ... And write what is the first thing you'll need to do, because it's so difficult to go in between all these tabs in our brain, between snacks and preparing dinner and laundry, that it's so important that when you're still present, that you can remind yourself what is really the biggest priority to continue. Celebrate all the micro progress. You shipped the button today, that's progress. You fixed the bug during nap time, victory. Small wins compound, don't dismiss them. And, you know, this is what the founder of Lovable does. Every time they ship something, no matter how small or how impactful, they are celebrating those micro wins. So if they can do it, so can you, and you should. You don't have to post it on LinkedIn if you don't want to, but it could be to yourself or to your family, for example. Just do a quick time check. Cool. Then we go into shipping imperfect, which is so hard to do. What I wanted to get across is that done on live at this day and age really is better than perfect and stuck in your head. So if you have 15 minutes to validate something with other parents, and I'm saying other parents just because what I'm working on is related with parenting, but try to talk to your users, obviously. But if you have 15 minutes, try to approach your target users, for example, people at the playground or people who are next to your car when you're picking up your kids, or maybe when they are asleep, you can DM 5 friends and asking them for feedback. So, or you can put something on Instagram and do an A/B kind of testing. Or if you have some sort of Facebook groups that you can join, or the actual She Builds Discord community for the hackathon, you can use all those places to get validation on what you're building. And that is a way, while you're still doing the hackathon, but also in the long run, to keep getting user feedback and validation about what you're doing, the kind of features you're picking, your prioritization, and so on. If you want a more structured feedback loop and you also don't really know where to start, here are some suggestions. I do super highly recommend having some sort of formal beta testing. Here's also some things I've done during the she builds and after. So I built an actual form. As you can see, it's just a Google form. It's very simple, but it has some instructions. And I built with Lovable within the platform I was building in the hackathon, a kind of beta tester landing page where I invited people to add their email address. They would get the Google form. And then I wrote on LinkedIn, will you give me a hand? And of course, many people immediately responded to that. So that's an idea for you to get a bit more structured feedback if you need. You can also let people book calls with you or find other ways to do so. Remember, it's really supposed to be embarrassing. I've put here Dropbox famous first demo video. Lots of people have seen this. This is hilarious. Basically, everything about the launch of Dropbox, there was just so many features that were just placeholders. They didn't exist. But the truth is they validated demand even before they started building. So how can you get inspired by that? When you're shipping, there's things that you can try to see, is this worth publishing or not? Should I wait? Should I improve? Ship if the core feature works, if people can complete the main action, if it doesn't crash, if you've tested on your phone, and at least one person has seen it and made sense. Maybe this isn't needed for everything, but don't wait to be perfect, for everything of the onboarding flow to be ready, for all the features to be complete. Remember that you can use things to corner cut while you're trying to do your prototype. That's like smart prioritization, and people won't, they won't think any less of you for doing things manually, for having placeholder images. Maybe use AI or ask Lovable to build AI while you're doing V1. It doesn't need to be perfect. Coming soon features, the button exists, but everything behind it still doesn't. Magic link for login. Don't try, for example, I went there in my hackathon to do the Google login, the whole route. Don't do it. Just really try to keep things simple. As promised, and I know many of you are very excited about this part, some AI tools to save your sanity. I've left here some tools for meeting, note taking, and magic. I'll leave you to it. I'm an absolute fan of Granola, and I'll get more to it. This is one of the outcomes of one of my brainstorming sessions. In this case, was with my husband. We spent hours talking. We get in the car, pick up the kids. We keep talking about brainstorming, and Granola just picks all that and makes sense of a multi-hour conversation in a way that was really, really mind-blowing. So that's my one takeaway. Automation and workflow, really worth exploring. Not everything you need to do in Lovable, but there's things you can connect to Lovable. And for example, I have an automation with Relay that I love that uses Perplexity for deep research into evidence-based topics. It then picks up the tone of voice of my brand to work on the content that I prompted, and based on the evidence from Perplexity, it then links into a briefing I have in my Google Sheets that tells me the target user for a certain content and many other filters, and basically creates content in multi-formats that I need for my own brand. So it's really great. You can explore, and I left some suggestions here for more AI that really saves your life and time. I also really want to leave you with some tips for design and content creation, because I know this is where we spend so much time. And when you're after the session, if you want to check, this is a small video I've made for the Family Door, which is a platform I'm building. And this small video is also a prototype. It's AI made, but it's kind of the summary of a process that I've described here. So research with my automation tools, reading into my website, reading into my tone of voice using Claude, picking up Nano Banana and some of the AI picture making tools, using then Artlistio for putting it together with voiceover based on the tone of voice as well, and creating a video with it. So this is some inspiration for you. And last but not least, the sexy, unsexy truth about logistics and survival as parents. So the best AI tools won't unfortunately help you if you're managing 3 meltdowns you haven't eaten. So this is what we're trying to do to help you have some sort of sustainable building and shipping as a parent. And the first thing is I want to invite you to treat your building journey, especially within the hackathon, but also long term, as you do when you're preparing for a newborn. What do you do when you're preparing? You freeze meals, you batch cook, you defrost them, you try to use all the brain calories for building and not for cooking, not for the daily tasks. You have lots of snacks around you. You arrange grocery deliveries and stop wasting time on shopping trips or laundries or so these are some of the things that I've also done that I think are so effective for you to really maximize the time you have for your hackathon. And here's also an inspiration because we didn't have so much couple time or partner time to talk about logistics during the hackathon. So we left each other aqua notes in the shower. So just a few ideas of how to manage also communication as a family in creative ways that you can also keep it fun and you don't go mad. Building while bouncing, some of the practical stuff, mapping your support, who you have around. During those 48 hours, I was so lucky because I had a strong support network of people to also support with all the logistics of my kids. I know not everyone has this, but what else can you do? Can you trade with parent friends? Can you arrange play dates where they pick up your child or they take them in the morning? And also longer term, but make sure you plan all this. So this is just a screenshot of the calorie of the calendar where it's so important that you plan this because it's really important that the more you can remove constraints, the more you have to deprioritize logistics, the more you can focus and be efficient on building and shipping. So, the world is full of evidence of other moms that can and have done and will continue to do building successful companies, shipping great products while raising a family. There's no perfect conditions, no one has them. So don't wait. I left a few here as well for you to come back in your own time and read about them. They're all amazing women. That's also myself. The day that I thought I made it when I started my corporate career at Amazon, but also me when I realized that I really made it. And this is with parenting that gives me a sense of purpose like nothing else does. So building between naps isn't ideal, we know, but it's our scenario right now. And thousands of other products have been built in stolen moments by founders who refuse to wait for the perfect conditions. So this is the right time for you to do it. There will always be another baby, another transition, another reason to wait. So today, open Lovable, write that prompt, build that thing, ship it messy, and your future self and your future users will thank you. And this is getting to the end of my main presentation. I'll get to the questions, but I've also left you kind of bonus mom plan. In case you haven't done your 48 hours plan yet, you can also use this small quiz here that will ask you a little bit how much time you have and where you are in the journey to help you come up with this initial plan. And here are some links as well for us to connect on LinkedIn. I would love to connect to all of you out there. And based on this presentation, I've also decided how cool would it be to start writing some of the tools that we're all using and sharing. So I also left a Substack link for you to connect if you want to. And I think, Javier, that was my main presentation. How am I doing with time?
Marta, you're doing amazing. Thank you so much for this. This was super insightful and inspiring. We have a couple of questions that I've gathered over time over here. I believe the first one you've already kind of answered. So the first one is, let me get it here. This is so helpful. Thank you so much. Question. Do you recommend building the bare bones of the build first and then making it pretty, or doing it all at once? Functionality over aesthetics or equal?
I've actually had something written here that I've deleted. I've written something like, if you build something, let's say you just submitted your initial prompt, you see lovable thinking, and then you see a huge turd. It just looks nothing like what the vibe that you were trying to give. I would say cross it immediately. There's no point in keep working 3 hours and trying to iterate of something that immediately you can't connect with. And I think this is also a shared opinion by many other people that work in vibe coding that I've listened to. Of course, if it's small adjustments that you need to do, we all need to start. We get something we connect to. It has the main features. Okay, we can work and we can start tweaking. But if it really has nothing to do with what you have in mind, just start from scratch. So definitely a combination of having the bare bones of functionality, but also that the design is along the lines of what you envision. I think that's so key with vibe coding.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let's hop on to the next question. Let me mark this as answered. Perfect. Okay, next question is your site is very organized. What is your biggest tip? What's the biggest tip that you can give us on building menus that make sense when putting things within them?
Sorry, I missed just the end of what I can't see the question, but I missed the end of it.
Oh,
What's your tip
yes,
on building menus?
like the brainstorming part of it all.
Okay. So this kind of website that I built for this presentation, I really wanted to use it as an example of something very simple that you can do to build on Lovable. For this particular case, in my initial prompt, I already knew because I'm building the family door. So I wanted to include some kind of Easter egg. So I wanted these to be doors. So I already told when I was building the initial prompt, I told Lovable that, you know, I told about the aesthetic, the vibe, blah, blah, but then I already told a little bit about the structure. So I said, I want to have it started with 6 doors that I go and I navigate within these doors. So there was already a kind of skeleton, and I really recommend having this, even if you don't know exactly the whole structure of the website that you'll have. I think it's super key that you give some sort of guidance on the user journey where you'll see users will go through. So obviously this is a presentation, so I just wanted to go in between these doors. But usually in a platform that you're building, you most likely have an idea of the journey you want. What is the path you want your users to take? They land on the landing page, and then maybe you want to guide them to a registry page or an information page, or you want them to do something and what to do. So try to draw, you can even draw it in a piece of paper, what is the journey you want to do, and give it to Lovable, because it really will help structure everything. You don't have to give the whole skeleton, but the user journey would be cool, at least the highlight of it.
Awesome. Thank you. And I think that partially answers the next question we have, which is what's a piece of advice that you can give on prioritizing and finding your North Star?
Okay, so I left the quiz here that you can try. I think that will be quite interesting for some of you if you don't have that North Star. But I think you probably already have some sort of direction because you've made your application with an idea in mind. But it all starts like the basis of entrepreneurship 101. Everyone will ask you, what is the user's pain point? What is something that is either keeping you up at night, or you see that you keep going into this problem, you're like, it should have done better, there must be another way. Or you see that people really struggle to solve or go about their everyday without a solution. So I think that's really the way to start and where to start.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Marta. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time. Marta, we want to thank you very much for making some time for us and getting to share this beautiful presentation. Thank you for doing it on Lovable. It looks amazing. And just thank you, everybody, for being here. Thanks again for your time. And if there are any questions just before we go, please make sure to send them in the chat or in the Q&A section. And look, Marta, we're getting some comments here. Amazing presentation. Can't wait to dig into the tools. Great presentation. You did amazing, and we really appreciate your time and getting to share your expertise and knowledge with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And good luck next week. You will rock. Remember to